Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you having a great weekend and God bless you. Alright, let's get into the news this Saturday morning. And what we have here, of course, is Liz Cheney once again as the de facto leader of the January 6th committee, because people understand that her hatred for Trump supporters, the American people, because her allegiances lie with the globalists, her allegiance lies with the Democrats, and rhinos, the swamp first-based entity within D.C., she does not care about the everyday American individual. Heck, she doesn't even live in Wyoming. She spends the majority of her time in D.C. or in Virginia. She does not go anywhere. She had to fly in to do a debate in Wyoming and then fly right back out right afterwards because she had to be close to the January 16th. Because that was the most pressing thing against our country right now. Really? Liz, really? Well, she's here on record, basically saying that they've found crimes on Donald Trump and they want to send it to DOJ to go after Trump. Trump should never be around office once again. Of course, Wyoming, you guys have a big job to do here in a couple of weeks, as August is getting closer, as your guy's primary is getting closer. Liz Cheney, of course, right now is down 30 points right now in the primary in her own state, where she has reached out to Democrats and has given them instruction on how to change their affiliation from Democrat to Republican in order to vote in this primary. That's how desperate she is to hold on to power, but that desperate enough to actually live in Wyoming to address the issues that are facing the state of Wyoming? No, she has to make sure she's going after her political rivals. And that is what Liz Cheney is doing right here. So here on CNN, she is telling Jake Tapper that yes, they have proven and they have evidence of Trump's misconduct and he should not be anywhere near the Oval Office. And they're going to send all these criminal referrals over to DOJ. Don't take this lightly. By the way, these people are clowns. And it doesn't stop there. Liz Cheney is also looking to send a subpoena for Justice Thomas's wife, Jean Thomas, in the upcoming hearing. So these people are gunning for every single political opponent they have. What Republicans need to do is hold a press conference tomorrow. This won't happen though, because we don't have strong leadership. What they need to do, though, is hold a press conference tomorrow and lay out every single Democrat they're going to subpoena as soon as they retake power, and have them all listed. This would stop tomorrow. If one Republican committee would stand up, the leadership would stand up and say, hey, all right. This is how it's going to go. And these are the people we're going to call on, and these are the people we're going to investigate. We are sitting our own panel down, and you guys are going to answer every single question that we have for you how this whole thing was conducted. So let's go and take a look what Liz Cheney had to say here with Jake Tapper as she prepares to try to indict Trump and prevent him from running for president again. She didn't stop there. Cheney also says in January 6th committee prepare to consider subpoena of Jean Thomas as well. This is what Jesse Kelly says, just what I just said as well. GOP should have a press conference scheduled for Monday. And now its new investigating committee will be formed on November 9th, listed names of the elected Democrats who will be getting a subpoena. If this doesn't stop now, and then watch this stop now. But there is not going to happen, right? They're not going to stop right now. We don't have Republican leadership bold enough in order to do that. However, Liz Cheney and the DOJ, the Biden administration, along with Nancy Pelosi, are all gunning to ensure that they can drop an October surprise with President Trump in handcuffs. That is what they want. This is why we see Steve Bannon. We see Peter Navarro, all these Trump people that were around Trump, and they're going to continue to parade these people in front of the cameras, in front of them normies out there, because normies, you're all they're going to see as Trump officials arrested, but they won't see what they were arrested for. And they won't see that they actually had been out jail. All they want is that photo. Trump should have absolutely arrested Hillary Clinton when he had the chance to, because they are going to take that opportunity if it's presented to them. And I probably should have said welcome to the Biden recession after months and months and months of predicting exactly this, that we would in fact see a Biden recession. Its now official second quarter GDP has come in almost 1.5 percentage points below expectation from all the very reputable economists predicting GDP growth of 0.5%, it's come under at negative 0.9%, almost negative 1%. And that's just in the first GDP read. It's possible that it takes lower, not substantially, but maybe by 0.1%, It might actually hit -1, or who knows, it might take upwards regardless of the small margins of error. The second quarter GDP for the year 2022 is officially negative. And that meets the technical definition of a recession. And so yet again, the Biden administration is caught up in another that didn't age well moment, adding to the list of failed economic predictions and just predictions in general. At this point, folks, if these people say something isn't going to happen, it's probably going to happen. If they say something is going to happen, well, it probably won't. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about what it means. And of course, let's talk about what the Democrats are currently doing. We've got some stuff to get into. So let's roll the tape. Alright, friends. So speaking of statements that didn't exactly age, well, I'm sure everyone remembers this talking point or this tweet from the 2020 election. Joe Biden, on Twitter, writes, "Are Joe Biden's helpers, right? I helped to pull this country out of a recession before, and as president, I'll do it again." Well, it seems as though Biden took a perfectly decent economic recovery and managed to screw it all up. And instead of avoiding a recession, or battling out of a recession, he brought you right back into a recession, accurately dubbed the Biden Recession. And it's undeniable at this point. Folks, take a look at the numbers. 2 consecutive quarters of GDP shrinkage. The US economy is officially in a recession period. Course, the Biden White House is continuing with the exact same talking points. Both Chairman Powell and many of the significant banking personnel and economists. Well, Chairman Powell and many significant banking personnel and economists say that we're not in a recession. Therefore, I guess we have to just throw away the actual definition in historical context here. But of course, what I just showed you guys, there is nothing new, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing you wouldn't expect from this dishonest administration. They're going to continue to deny this recession, basically up until the point where it's officially declared. But where it really starts to get dumb and desperate, frankly, where it really starts to get degenerate, is with Joe Biden's latest talking point that the reason people think the economy is in recession is because they didn't get another stimulus check. Oh, the reason Americans think they're in a recession is because, well, they didn't get that $8,000 check from the government. He then goes on to look like a confused, frail old man and says, "Does that make any sense?" No, it doesn't. It literally makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it proves the point that this administration has learned absolutely nothing. The entire reason the economy is in this place in the first place is because of the overheating. I mean, economic stimulus is one thing, but 2 years of economic stimulus and massive money printing, combined with extremely low interest rates, has created an overswelling of the economy, a bubble so to speak. Now what we're seeing is the things popping, of course, as a result of out of control, runaway inflation. And Joe Biden says what's really happening is Americans are just sad that they're not getting more checks from the government. We're not seeing economic slowdown, although all indicators are showing economic slowdown. Or we're actually seeing is just a drop in economic morale because Americans aren't getting free money from the government money printer. Go Burr. Once again, this has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And it shows the absolute economic incompetence of this administration, especially this president who has no idea what he's saying and no idea what he's talking about when it comes to money, says something so absolutely insane. And it looks around confused for validation in the room, probably one of the most ridiculous Joe Biden moments. But of course, it doesn't end there. Once again, this administration's refusal to learn basic economic lessons in the face. Have runaway inflation and now a technical recession? What is this administration doing? Well, you guessed it, and print and spend more money that America cannot afford. With Joe Biden's newest message. Everyone listen to this. The fact is that my message to Congress is this. This is the strongest bill you can pass to lower inflation, cut the deficit, reduce healthcare costs, tackle the climate crisis, and promote energy security, all the time while reducing the burdens facing working class and middle class families. So passive for the American people, passage for America. Well, the Inflation Reduction Act, more government spending to combat inflation caused by more government spending. Absolutely idiotic. The claim is it will lower inflation, cut the deficit, reduce healthcare costs, tackle the climate crisis, and promote energy security. But you know what? It's really doing increasing taxes on corporations in a moment of economic decline. If you needed to be convinced further of the absolute insane incompetence of this president and his team, will look no further than the Inflation Reduction Act. From the Democrat perspective, all you got to do is just name the bill after what you're trying to promote or what you're trying to do, and things will just magically solve themselves. And how absolutely idiotic, I mean. Here's the statement from President Joe Biden, or rather his handlers, on second quarter GDP contraction coming off of last year's historic economic growth and regaining all the private sector jobs lost during the pandemic crisis. It's no surprise that the economy is slowing down as the Federal Reserve acts to bring down inflation. But even as we face historic global challenges, we are on the right path. And we will come through this transition stronger and more secure. Our job market remains historically strong with unemployment at 3.6%. You know what? To a certain extent, this is a somewhat decent point that Democrats are making here. If we're talking about worst case scenario, the last pillar that's standing up is probably the jobs market, unemployment rates. I predict quarter 3 and quarter 4 of 2022 could possibly start showing some signs of layoffs and a weaker job market. Frankly, that would probably be the last pillar to fall for an all-out recession. But facing that and knowing that this genius president and genius administration and Democrat Party decided that their primary focus, their top priority legislatively, is to now pass the Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to increase taxes on corporations, hurting their bottom line, and most likely leading to layoffs, as companies can no longer afford to keep their staff or to employ as many people as they are. What happens when you increase taxes on corporations? It cuts into their profits, and they either have to increase the cost of their goods, inflation, or the other option is reducing their input costs and their operating costs. In other words, firing people, replacing them with robots. You guys get the point. And of course, the overarching general point here is these people are completely clueless in over their heads. And I still maintain the feeling that I don't think this is going to end very well. And once again, I'm just taking cues from the past. I mean, they're regurgitating this talking points. It's actually just a transition period, a transitory recession. I guess you could call it our transitory slowdown to slow and sustainable economic growth. But every time these people said it was transitory, well, those statements didn't exactly age well, now, did they? I don't know about you guys. But if we go to that first chart that I showed you earlier, like I've been saying forever here, folks, quarter 2 is supposed to be the summer rush where jobs are aplenty, and the economy is roaring. So it's not exactly surprising that the GDP number for quarter to 2022 was trending upwards from quarter 1, 2022. But the real scary stuff is end of summer till September quarter 3, which as you can see in 2021 6.3%, growth in quarter 1 6.7% in quarter 2, and then dropped down 4.4% down to 2.3%. It's possible that quarter 3 trends in the wrong direction. And this thing isn't actually transitory at all, just like they told you when inflation was 4 or 5%, that it was basically overnight and peaked. And then a couple months later, it's at 9.1%, basically doubling on many analysts and economists. And of course, this administration is saying, well, this thing's over, that's a wrap. Now back to the unprecedented historic bull run that we've seen for the past 14 years. Well, that's what they're telling you. I'm not exactly sure that the damage done by this fiscal lunacy that we've experienced over the last couple of years is over just yet. And I'm definitely not going to take the Biden administration's word for it. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts below and